So today I'm going to talk about not judging appearances. And really, like when we're judging anything or anyone, we're judging ourselves because everything is us. We're judging God because everything is God. And so, judgment puts us in a really low vibration. We're separating ourselves from life. But today I wanted to talk about how life is like when people talk about the law of attraction and creating, a lot of times they're talking about how to get things, how to get a partner, how to get money, how to get a house, or whatever the case may be. The thing is, we're not a thing. We're not a body. We are eternal, infinite consciousness, and we are also a soul, an eternal soul. And so masterful creation is allowing our soul to incarnate in this world, allowing our consciousness of immortality to incarnate into this world by responding to life from the consciousness of immortality, from the consciousness of being unlimited, being driven by love. And so when the soul, right, if the soul has a wound and it's ready to heal the wound, the simulation of life will create a story or an opportunity for the soul to heal the wound. So, for example, I remember when I was listening to Abraham Hicks years ago, I went to an event of theirs, and I sat in the hot seat and I asked them a question. And I was in a relationship that I wasn't aware of it yet, but it was very deceptive. And I was starting to feel like I didn't belong in that relationship anymore. And I don't remember exactly what I asked Abraham, but what they said was, your inner being knows who this man is. And basically, when you find out what's going on here, your mind is going to assume that something has gone wrong. But if you are a masterful creator, you're going to choose a masterful opponent, right? You're going to choose the equivalent amount of negativity of the light that you want to bring into your life. And I can honestly say that moving through the challenges of that relationship brought so much more of my light into this world, improving my self-worth, my ability to speak up for myself, my ability to create boundaries, my discernment, my understanding of the non-physical world, right? I can see things like demons and things like that, and angels. I mean, it brought so much more of me into this world, that experience. But if we're judging people by appearances and by things and by the metric system of the conditioned mind, you might look at a situation like that and say, oh, she has bad taste in men, and she's had to fend off like negative entities, and that's a lot of chaos. It's like, from my point of view, it's the equivalent amount of light that I want to bring into this world is going to be met with opposition. And my test is to know who I am in the face of the opposition. I told the story as well in other videos that when I was in the woods, studying something called Rohan, which is a type of therapy that I do for people, in the middle of the night, I was attacked by a discarnate negative entity, by, some people would call it a demon or an incubus. And it literally ripped my covers off of my bed, and it tried to attach to, we have a chakra right up here called the causal chakra. And this has happened to me twice, okay? Something like this has happened to me twice. And the way I responded to it, in that case, I got really strong and I said the names of God in Hebrew, and it just disappeared. And the other time that it happened to me, I just beamed a white light and the being like disintegrated. So on the outside, if I were to tell this story, people would say, oh, well, she attracts some weird stuff, right? But from my point of view, I have incarnated my power, the knowledge of who I am, the knowledge that not even a stupid little demon can scare me. My opinion of those things now is the same thing as a cockroach or a shadow. I know that about myself. I have done healings and exorcisms on people where things try to come and bother me and I send it away like a shoo fly. If I had not have had the initiations that I've had, I would still be like a very scared little girl in many ways. So the point is, when the soul is ready to shine into this world, the simulation is going to give you an opportunity to do it. Okay, so we can't, like, first of all, we shouldn't be judging ourselves, aka other people. We shouldn't be judging God. We shouldn't be judging anyone's process. It is useful to understand patterns. It is useful to understand, like, some people are saying nowadays that like narcissism doesn't exist, and I disagree with that. It does exist. I think most people misuse that term and use it loosely and use it to feel like a victim and to stay in a victim vibration. But it's useful to understand patterns, to understand yourself. Like, well, what inside of me would attract something like that? What inside of me would attract something like that thing that tore my covers off? I spoke about it in other videos. What's the darkness in me that allows this into my life? Naivety, not having boundaries, not having self-respect, engaging, trying to negotiate with someone who's hurting me and trying to convince them not to instead of just letting them go, right? These are things I need to understand about myself. So labels and patterns are useful so that you can understand what inside of you allows this into your experience so that you can incarnate more of your life so you can stop doing those things. So the bottom line is, with this video, I wanted to shift our understanding of the law of attraction and manifestation to more of like, who the fuck are you becoming? Like, who are you? It's not about what you have, although of course, like the stronger you feel, the more stable you feel, the more grateful you feel to be alive, which when you're not owned by fear and by your astral body and being, owned by the lower desire body, right? When you overcome these darknesses inside yourself, often by dealing with them in the external world, you're automatically more grateful, you're automatically more joyful, you're automatically more abundant, because your natural state is abundance, but it's covered up by these veils. And the veils get incinerated often by experiences in the world that give us an opportunity to incinerate them. And sometimes we can incinerate them in meditation. Sometimes if you meditate on the fact that you don't need a life-threatening illness to remind you that life is right now, right? You don't really have time to forgive. You don't have time to worry, to fret. Like, an illness can be a huge gift in that it makes you live, makes you appreciate, makes you get out of your box, right? You can meditate on death, you can meditate on your mortality and do the same thing for meditation. But oftentimes the simulation, the world, will give you an opportunity to express this immortality into your life. So this is a message of understanding, of tolerance. And just because we understand and have compassion for something or for what someone's going through, obviously doesn't mean we should have it in our lives. But everybody's just doing their best and going through their process. And I heard a Kabbalah teacher the other day saying that, was it that Moses was in prison for 10 years as part of his purification? Like, a lot of people experience tremendous darkness before a tremendous dawn. And so, therefore, let's have compassion for all of life, for what everybody's going through. We can't use appearances. We cannot look at the phenomenal world and, based on that observation, really know what's going on with that soul, right? If you take the time to tune into it and to understand it, you can know what's going on with the soul. But just by saying, oh, they have this going on and that going on, and they have an illness and they can't heal, and they have this toxic relationship and they're going back and they're talking to their toxic ex, it's like, you don't know what their process is. Leave them alone in your mind. Let's just have more compassion, because appearances aren't real. Appearances are the simulation, giving us an opportunity to work out the wounds of our soul. So I hope this was helpful, and I hope you have a beautiful day.